Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am Inzali, and this is Inzali Takes Africa. I am so excited today because I have a very special surprise for you. I am going to be on live today. Well, not live, but video today with a really good sister friend of mine, Sister Adwoa from Akoma Healing Arts. Yay! Let's snap for her. I'm going to bring her up in just a second, but I just want to say that today is going to be magical. We're going to be talking with another sister from the diaspora, talking about her move to Ghana, what her experience has been like traveling back and forth now that she's here for a longer amount of time. What have her experiences been like? And some tips that she can probably share or give to you all. Now, before I bring her up, don't forget to go ahead and like this video. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. If you are a subscriber, don't worry, you can become a member today. Members get some special treats. You get special content early. You also will have member-only chats with me where we'll get into the nitty-gritty of you prepping for your repatriation or relocation process. All right. And if you want to just hang out with me and know my day-to-day, you can always follow me on Instagram at Inzali Takes Africa. All right. So I think you all are ready. So let me go ahead and bring up Sister Adwoa.
Greetings.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me well?
Welcome to Ghana.
Madasi.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you.
Oh, this is so exciting to actually be able to interview you while you are here in Ghana. I'm just excited for you. I'm excited for the journey and all the things that are to come, as well as the things that already have happened. Oh, it's good to see you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here with you too. And I had the pleasure of meeting you before, so this just feels like, we're just chatting it up again, because you really helped us when we were here a few years ago to support a community that we had donations for. So you've been a part of our movement.
Yes, I do remember that. I believe it was reading glasses that you all were
Yeah.
donating or you wanted to donate. And so we were able to help kind of facilitate getting that to a community in Adwoa, which is a part of
Yes.
Greater
Ada.
Accra. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
you
So
did.
that
That
was
was,
that
I
was
was so
dope. That
happy.
was our introduction.
That
That was our
was.
original introduction.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that kind of speaks to who you are, what you do. And so I would like for you to just kind of tell everybody, who you are, what you do, and what kind of led you to travel in Africa and specifically relocating to Ghana.
Okay, so I want to first start with like the long ago who I am. I'm a daughter to a Pan-Africanist Rastafarian father who was a strong believer in the Back to Africa movement. And as long as I've known myself since the first time I have pictures, I couldn't even talk and walk, and he would have me hold up these Africa posters, you know, when I was
Oh,
like 8 months old, So
yeah.
Africa has been a part of my psyche. He really was doing a thing. And when he was doing it, may his soul rest well. His name is Aya. My dad's name is Aya.
I am.
And Aya, like the Adinkra symbol. I had no clue
Mm-hmm.
that my father's name was a whole Adinkra symbol until I came to Ghana. But when he was really like nurturing and curating this burning love for Africa in me, it was in the 80s. I was born in 77.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I remember people telling him he was crazy. And what it
Mm.
created in me was it created a wound, because I've always felt that my identity was around being the child of a madman. And that felt very
Mm.
shameful. It felt very uncomfortable. But there was also a part of me that loved it, because
Mm-hmm.
deep there was something in my spirit that felt like what he was telling me was right. Right? But it's
Mm.
hard when you're the minority and the majority. I remember when I was like 4 years old, 5 years old, one of his he had a boss who gave me a white doll for Christmas. And my father sanded the doll down and painted her black.
Mm.
He was that intentional. He was
And
that
so
intentional. All honor to him, my ancestor.
if your father, you were born in the 70s, so your father is probably the same age as my father. My father was born in 1950. My mother was born in 53. So maybe they're kind of somewhere
He was
within the
44.
same.
He was born 1944.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's a little older than my parents. And I don't recall my parents being like vocal about their intention. I just remember it being like a part of how things are. Like, you're not having white baby dolls, you're going to read black authors, that it just wasn't, they never were like, this is what we're doing. It was just like everyday life. And then I
Mhm.
realized as I've gotten older that a lot of my friends, that wasn't necessarily their experience. And I remember my father also buying me like it was this big, thick Black history book. And I mean, that thing was
Oh,
like thick
daddy
like an
did that.
encyclopedia. It was
My
thick like
dad
an
did that too.
encyclopedia. And I was like, oh, okay. So I've always kind of had that in my household as well. Even though my parents, they wouldn't have said that, they from the South. They from North Carolina, South Carolina. So they would never have said that they're Pan Africans, maybe because they didn't have the language, right? But
Mhm.
the way in which they reared me was definitely very Pan African, I would say, in their
Mm.
practices and in their rearing. So I find that to be interesting that both of us have that similarity
That
of
connection.
upbringing. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Because
You know,
honestly, a lot of people that I meet don't necessarily have that when they're coming
mhm.
here, and that
I
impacts
have
your
found that
experience.
too. Yeah, like my husband, which we came here together, he had to find it for himself. He had cues and signs, but it wasn't like how it was for me. And so I always feel like I was gifted, because when I was 10, my father gave me this thick book, What They Never Told You in History Class. If you're watching this,
Mm-hmm.
find it. He told me when he gave it to me in 1987 that one day this version won't be available. I'll never forget. I was 10. That's how he spoke to me. He was an intellect.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the new version of the book is watered down. It's nothing like the one that I have.
Wow.
But if you can get it, get it. What they never taught you in history class. And so it's one of a kind, right? So he gave that to me. And in the book, there are truths about different people who are of high stature in American culture, like
Mm-hmm.
John Wayne, like racist statements, remarks that they made. And, it's just a lot of information about the Black Madonna and the Pope bowing down to a
Mm-hmm.
Black Christ. And I was 10 years
Mm-hmm.
old. I mean, I really see my father as like a scientist because he had to be really gifted to see the future because what he was doing
Mm-hmm.
really informed why I loved Africa and wanted to repatriate, But fast forward to who I am now as a result of all of that childhood experience. I am, my husband and I, we host tours to Ghana and Senegal and Gambia. And we also have been helping others to curate their own tours and consulting people to create their own tour groups because there's an art to it. And we're parents. I went to high school with my husband, so it's a beautiful experience to have a partner who had the same passion. He came to Ghana long before me
Mm-hmm.
in 1998, and that was
Oh,
just
that's
something
before
else.
this new Ghana.
Listen to me. He came when there was no light, like there was nothing like how it is right now.
Yeah.
And he loved it then as he loves it now. And so honor to him. But I'm a mother, I'm also a therapist. I'm a transformation coach. I help women transform childhood trauma, mother wounds, and transform the pain into purpose. So the
Mm-hmm.
combination of everything that I do is really about healing, and
Mm-hmm.
transformative healing, emotional healing, cultural healing. We're healing so much. So that's a little bit of who I am and what I've been doing.
Wow. And what you're doing is something that is needed collectively, like across the whole spectrum. I find that when people are coming with their things. Then when you're here, people are already here, already have their things
Yeah.
that everybody's trying to work through. And so it can be a very touchy space if you haven't done your preparation work in advance, and preparation more than just like getting your finances together, getting
Mhm.
your visa, getting your yellow card and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about like your mental well-being, your spiritual well-being, your emotional well-being. how have you taken care of some of those things before you decide to make this, jump across the Atlantic, or this move for people like us moving back across the Atlantic? And so I do think that that's a very, very important point that a lot of people kind of miss in their preparation. So to
Mm-hmm.
get into some of that, I want to talk about like our mindset when we're getting ready to come, because
Okay.
oftentimes when people talk to me and they ask me questions, I'm starting with, what are your thoughts? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on in your mind when it comes to this journey to move abroad or move to Ghana or Africa in general? And so
Mm-hmm.
how did you get over the, that point where you get stuck? You're like, I want to go, but so
Uh-huh.
how do you get
Uh-huh.
past the but?
So we all are stuck for different reasons. And I want to speak to those reasons, right? Some people get stuck because of the conveniences that America offers, like
Mhm,
AC always working and feeling very cold. Some people
mhm,
can't handle cold water. And when they came to Ghana, sometimes the water got cold and they couldn't handle that. Some people worry about money and they think, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to maintain a living. And
mhm,
America has us in a chokehold because of capitalism around money. And a lot of us are walking around with money wounds. And so we
mhm,
think that we can't flow abundantly and that we need a 9 to 5 and that we're stuck in that. So just to name some of the reasons why we get stuck, the thing that had me stuck was emotional trauma. I
mhm,
thought that I could not have moved away from America until I felt hyper responsible to fix the relationship with my mother. I thought
mhm.
that I had to, like, I thought I could not
Right.
leave until I built a relationship. I thought that I was going to be a bad daughter and a bad human being, because what I learned in that experience was that although I'm the child and my mother is the adult, that it was my responsibility to make it right.
Mhm.
And I had a deep guilt wound that was, it not only
Listen,
affect, I'm going, y'all know, I told you, I'm going to come, I'm going to talk
you
about
like
truth.
mirroring me right now.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
that's why I do my work. I'm really, I've worked with so many women, and I'm not just mirroring you. I just have the guts to say it out loud. And that's
Mhm,
why I work with women, because
mhm,
in private, because so many women don't want anyone to know this type of suffering. And when someone like me shows up and I speak openly about it, they're like, what is she saying? I need to talk to her.
listen,
Okay.
literally, when before I went to South Africa, because my transition to the African continent was like, I was on the Greyhound. I was like, let me stop here, let me stop here. So before I went to South Africa, um, one of my mentors told me, like, you will go, but you will come back. So I said, okay. I didn't believe her, but it was true. I went and then I had to come back, and then I came to Ghana. But then also right before I came to Ghana, there was a lot of tension between my mother and I. And it was this thing that you're talking about, like the feeling responsible for the relationship, feeling like I'm feeling guilty because I'm going to be a bad daughter because I'm deciding to go away. Nobody else has done that. In my family, people stay, they take care of their elder parent.
Yep.
They, everybody's very close. The only person who from my family who left and went far was my Aunt Mary. She went to New York City, back in the 60s
That's
and
not even
stayed there, you know but she was like the renegade woman, like, oh, she went to New York and moved and never came back to North Carolina. And so
fair.
for everybody, it's kind of it was really that thing of, now you are the child that's doing the thing that's displeasing, then you feel
To
guilty,
everyone.
all of those things that you
Mm.
talk about. But it was something that had to happen. And another mentor of mine, two great women, the next mentor told me, stop talking about it, because I was telling her I was having this issue, like we're getting into conflict, all of these things. And she said, no, stop talking about it. The ancestors have
Mm-hmm.
already said it's so. They've already approved. You're going.
Ashe.
So stop talking about it. And since that time, there's a new level of respect I think my mother has, found for me. I also have felt like I've stepped into another level of womanhood. And,
Yes.
we've gotten to a better place. She still don't
No.
like the fact that I'm far, but there's a respect there that I don't think was there before. And so this,
Mm-hmm.
even my whole journey was a part of me kind of walking into some of this healing of the relationship with my mother and us having clearer boundaries and all
Yes.
of those type of
Well,
things.
so
But
that's what I'm going to get into. That's what I'm going to get into, though, with my story is that I had to create that before I did this. So what happened was the opposite. I didn't have to fix anything. What I needed to do was to work on myself. And
Mhm,
in taking care of and working on myself, naturally, I had to set boundaries.
mhm,
Eventually, those boundaries became no contact. And
mhm,
so, what was spiritually happening was I was getting prepared to be okay with stepping away.
mm. I
you
like that
know,
one.
and
Prepared to step away. Oh my
I
goodness.
was
That's the
getting prepared to step away and to do what brings me joy.
yeah.
But honestly, I wouldn't have gotten to any of those stages, and this is why we have to be open to the unknown, and we have to
Mhm,
be receptive of what we don't know the future. We cannot live, we have to stay present, because if my father did not pass away, I would not have been there. I would not have
mm,
elevated and grown and become the woman that I needed to become to do the things. So after his passing, I went to Africa for the first time because I felt his spirit started to move through me in such a powerful
mhm,
way. So I took my first trip. I started my business. I started to do things that I thought I was once afraid of doing. I
mhm,
stepped into my spiritual practice. I mean,
mhm.
all of those transitions helped me to be okay with jumping on that plane.
And see, I don't want to sound too spooky, but I'm gonna say it anyway because this is what I
Yes.
know to be true. When people transition, it's a
Mm,
shift in energy. So
yes, it
just
is.
like, for my people who are Christians, when they say Jesus died and he shed blood, that was a
Yep.
shift in energy. So when we start thinking about, you know, when people are passing, this because in my family it's always in threes. The threes of that energy is moving and shifting. And then
Yes, it is.
either you're gonna get on the bandwagon or you're gonna miss the boat and you have to catch the catch the next
Well,
one. But when it
honey, I
comes to
got
that,
on the bandwagon.
so and the funny thing for me, when I went to South Africa, my brother and my grandmother passed within maybe like 6 or 7 months of each other. And
Mm,
everybody was wondering, like, how is she still going back? But to me, number one, my brother had already told me that I had to go. That was before I left. He's like, I'm sad you're going, but I know you have to go. So I was like, he's fine. He wanted me to go anyway. And my grandmother was something I kind of knew was to come. But even in the aftermath, the taking care of me in all of those transitions and all of that, it was almost like they had to go because they can only help me so much here.
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking
Then they
about.
were like really taking care of me, and I was like, oh, okay,
In
I'm all
ways
right.
that I never imagined.
Yeah.
And my father, I'm a dreamer, and I
Mhm,
actually can I generally will dream people who cross over. I can see
mhm,
deceased. They come in my dream, and the dreams that I started having with my father, they started to tell a story. They started to actually guide me. Even
mhm.
the last dream that I had before coming here, like 2 weeks before I came, I had a dream that he was standing in my living room in America with all my boxes surrounding him. And he
He was
was
like, it's time.
he said to me, I'm coming with you. In
Mm.
the dream, he said, I couldn't make you go so far across the water and I'm not coming with you. That's what he said. And he had on
Oh,
a
wow,
t-shirt, one of my own shirts that he was wearing in the dream, and
wow.
so he's never left me. He has
Mhm.
never left me. He's been with me all through the path. He's been guiding me. And I truly believe that my ancestors are the reason why I'm here.
Mm.
I truly believe it. So the things that they didn't get to accomplish and do, they use us as vessels to achieve those things. If we're
Yeah,
listening, like you said, you either miss the train or you get on the bandwagon.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 And I definitely believe when we're we're getting to that point where, so far as you've had the idea, that means somebody's already whispering that this is something you should even just consider and start thinking about. So for me, when I'm talking to people, I'm like, you asking the question is already your confirmation that
Yep,
this is
that
something that's for you. So now we
Ashe.
just have to go into how to prepare, right?
Right.
So now that we've had the idea or the concept, now how do we prepare ourselves for this type of,
Mm,
change, this type of shift that'll happen in your life? Because it is
mm.
a major shift. I don't want to downplay it. I don't
Oh,
want to act
honey.
like it's like getting on, a flight from North Carolina to DC. No, this takes a little bit
Mm-mm.
more preparation than that. Now, I will say, for the people out there who aren't as familiar with my story, I I really did kind of just decide, and like within 10 months I was gone when it came to Ghana. South Africa was a little different. Like, I was prepared. I did the Peace Corps, so that's a whole process. But for Ghana, I was like, nope, I'm going, giving
Mhm.
myself the school year, because I was a teacher. I'm like, I have one school year and I have to be out of here. And so, but even with that, there was still a little level of preparation, some shedding, some getting some money in order, those type of things, some sacrifices.
Right.
So I do want to know, for you and your family, because I came as a single woman, right? But you're coming with your
Right.
family. So how did you prepare? It was a little easier for me because I don't need as much. It's just me, you know.
Oh, yes.
But
Oh,
how
yes.
did you and
Let
your
me tell
family
you.
prepare?
So first, I wanted to kind of dial back to the personal preparation. I think that if you're watching this video and you are thinking to repatriate or to come to Africa for a long period of time, list your top 5 fears. Write down
Mhm.
the things that you're afraid of the most, because whatever it is that you fear the most, make a shameless inventory. You cannot shame yourself out of denial. It's not going to work. You cannot come to a space like this and live in denial about who you are and what you struggle with, because what's going to happen is you're going to come and you have to face those things head on. So list your 5 fears, and also list the relationships that you're unresolved with, and be okay with getting into what feels so unresolved about it, because you're going to meet those energies again. And if you're not
Mm.
equipped emotionally to face whatever shows up in that, then it'll feel like a breakdown. Right. So from that
Mm.
emotional standpoint, I wanted to give those 2 tips. My therapist and me couldn't just go on without that. All right.
Yeah,
But
those are really good. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, but the actual like objective preparation now was like, first of all, you have to have a made up mind. And like Nzali said, the minute you start asking yourself the questions, now it's just up to you to really decide and make up your mind that no matter what, you don't know how it's going to happen, you're going to do it. The
Hmm.
second thing that I truly advise on is to set a date. You got to be intentional about when you want to do that, right? Because
Hmm.
once you set a date, you're telling the universe that everything that you need to conspire in your favor has to come to you before that date. And so
Hmm.
that's important. So you set that date, you make up your mind, you set a date. Okay, so then you want to buy your ticket. You got to get your ticket, right? You got to save some money, because
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, since I've been here, the because we're not settled into our home yet. We're in a transitional home right now. The spending,
Mhm.
especially on transportation, nobody told
Yes.
me that it costed so much money for transportation out here in these Ghana streets.
Well, the funny thing about that is, because prices change so frequently, you
I
could, like,
know.
I made a video maybe 2 weeks ago about cost of living. Since then, petrol has gone up a little bit. So now if someone logs
Mhm.
on to Uber, it probably is going to have a different price than what I could have quoted, 2 weeks ago. And so it
Right,
goes up and down quite frequently, to where it makes it a little bit difficult, but you can at least have a ballpark figure
right,
that you have set for yourself. And one more
right.
thing I want to ask you just quickly.
Mhm.
Why did you choose a moving date before a money goal? Because what I hear people doing all the time is like, oh, I want to save 5,000,
Mm-mm.
10,000, and I'm going to go. But
You know
nobody ever
why?
said, mm-hmm,
Nope. Not only did I set a date, I bought my ticket. I,
mm,
I bought my ticket and I did not have all of the means, but I'm a manifester and I trust
mm-hmm,
in the power. I know that all those I've done so many years of emotional healing. I no longer believe that I'm not worthy of goodness. I know that I
Mhm.
deserve goodness in my life. So that's why your
Yeah.
mindset is very important. I deserve abundance. I deserve ease. I deserve loving relationships. I deserve opportunities. So I bought my
Mm.
ticket for my husband and I and our two children and our dog
Hey, I
before
have a
I
dog
even had a
too.
place to live,
Mm.
because I trusted that. But I'm a special kind of person, y'all. If you're watching
Well,
and
no,
you're
I bought
scared,
my ticket too.
if you're
I came
scared,
in
don't
December
follow.
and bought it. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought my ticket. I
But
bought my
see,
ticket.
we have to talk about these things because, again, what I have found is that people who come here and they're able to successfully kind of move into this space, these are some of the things that they're doing that they're not expressing in the public space. Because even myself, I bought my ticket way in
Ashe,
advance. You know,
Ashe,
I came in December and I was like, okay, for sure, by the end of the school year, I will be here. So right after that, the next paycheck, I bought my flight.
Ashe.
Didn't
That's what
have a
I'm
place
talking
to live,
about.
nothing.
I had
So
nothing.
this that's a part of the acts of faith that are required to do this like big shift that you're about to make. You got to drop
Yes.
some seeds down.
You have
I'm
to.
sorry.
You have to plant. No, you're right. And I'm like, because if fear is a really big thing, doing something
Mhm,
like that is not going to feel good, but it's going to lead you to the other side. I'll promise
mhm,
you, because more things are going to come up that's going to require you to have that same act of faith that Inzali that you're referring to. You know what I mean? And that's why people like us, it's our responsibility to create workshops, to create
mhm.
platforms like this, to do the work that I do and that you're doing to help people. It's our
Mhm.
responsibility, because nobody wants to buy the ticket first. Everybody, but if you're only saving to get enough, something is going to come up to distract you. That's only natural.
Yes.
I promise you. I'm not
Yes.
asking you, I'm telling you, let me come close up. Something is
Yes.
going to come up that's going to distract you because you didn't make up your mind and you didn't feel
Yeah.
confident about the decision. I didn't tell anyone that I was coming. That's the other thing. Why? I don't need other people's opinions about something that I'm sure for myself. I don't
Yeah.
care what somebody thinks about what I have to do. And your
Mhm.
opinion does not matter if I have already made up my mind that I'm going to do it for myself. You understand? But we create spaces. Again, if I didn't heal trauma stuff, I wouldn't have come up to this place, right? I had
Mhm.
to get to the place where I no longer cared what people thought about me. And that's a rough journey, being honest, but it's worth
Yeah.
it. It's worth it. If you work it, it works, right? So we bought our ticket. And honestly, when we went to buy our plane ticket, it was horrible. The lady
Mm.
who booked our ticket on Delta, she was new. She messed up our ticket
Oh,
by accident. She bought the ticket and then refunded it by accident. We didn't get the ticket, and Delta called us and said, "We are so sorry." And you know what they did? Not only did they give us a ticket and put us in the front of the plane, but they gave us a
hey.
$2,000 voucher.
Wow. You see? You see how
You
it moves. When it's for you, the doors go like this. The steep part like this. And you don't even know how. You don't even know how. It
okay?
just
So
moves.
you got
Wow.
to be okay. I was up 3 o'clock in the morning with this lady, like, oh my God, you didn't tell me you were new. Oh
Mm,
man. I said, well, whatever, it's gonna work. I was 3 in the
yeah.
morning. Okay, so you gotta trust in the unknown. You gotta be okay. We don't control things, right? But then you get your ticket, you save, you attract, you come up with an amount that you
Yeah.
want to attract for your move. Like for me, it was $20,000. I was like, oh, I
Mhm.
just $20,000. That's real. Like I'm being,
Yeah.
and we sold everything. We had like 2 estate sales in
Hmm.
our home. We sold everything that we own, our vehicle, like we literally. And then we have children, and so there was a mental preparation for the children. We started having
Hmm.
conversations. We brought them to Ghana back and forth. We started doing research. We would watch YouTube channels. We would watch Zali.
Hmm.
We would
Thank
start
you.
watching you. Yeah, we would watch YouTube channels and just start having conversations about how they're feeling and about preparing them about, saying goodbye to the things that they were doing. See you later.
Yeah.
We started planning and manifesting. We created like a Pinterest board of the life that we were
Mm,
going to create. Not a vision board because ain't nobody cutting out no more, when we have technology, right? So we just created
Yeah.
like Pinterest, and then we started imagining our life. You know, my daughter is a gymnast, and she's powerful. She's an
Mm,
amazing movement artist, and she's 10, and now she's at Vivi's dance in East Lagoon.
mm.
And her first time went, she tried out and she was in, and they already invited her to be in the performance. She's doing a performance in
Wow.
December. She's doing a performance in February. Homegirl's gonna be on the stage. We were
Yeah.
visioning that
Yeah.
before we
Wow.
even we before we even, you know. So but what we are is we're all scientists. Just like we can
Mm-hmm.
create destruction, we can create empowerment in our lives
Mm-hmm.
through our thoughts. And so I'm not saying that it's smooth. My children have been here, and the heat, we went in a car that didn't have AC, and there was an accident. We were in traffic. My daughter started
Yeah.
crying. The driver was like, oh my God, you know. We've had experiences
It's a
that have
part of
been
the
like,
process.
it's just a part of the process. You
Yeah.
have to be okay with hang up and bang ups, and really act of faith. I love that you said that, because it has to be about that every move.
Yeah.
But you have to be okay. But you definitely got to save. You got to find a place to live. But you got to have
Mhm.
people on the ground that you know are going to support you. America has
Yes.
us all in an individualistic mindset that we have to
Mm.
do things alone, and that if you ask somebody for help, then now you're going to owe them. And you can't bring that mindset to Ghana.
Yeah.
You
Then
can't.
that's something that is a big one, right? So like when people come and you're used to just that, like you said, that individualism, then you start to notice here that nobody does anything as an individual. Even
At
in
all.
the last place that I worked here in Ghana, which was at one of the universities, I was, me, I'm like, oh, I'm going to come up with this incentive plan for my team to, help them, just incentivize their work so that they'll bring in more numbers, right? We were doing recruitment. And I was like, okay, the concept of the highest person, the person bringing in the highest number will get the reward. They came back with some feedback like, we'd rather have a pot or something and split it up.
Oh,
And I'm like, what?
wow.
That
I
would
love
never happen
that.
in the States.
Never. The
Never,
States, they
you
are
know?
very, everything is about rah, 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 me, 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 me,
And
me.
so everybody, it's just almost like it's just their way, their way of being. But I will say, there was a professor of mine when I was at Howard, and Dr. Carr, and he always says that there are like African ways of knowing. And so for those of us who are Africans in the diaspora, when we come, I think one of the things we have to add on our preparation list is to intentionally tap back into your African ways of knowing. Yes, we've been in that system, but that isn't who we are at our essence and our core. And that's why
Yeah.
when so many of us come, we naturally are like, oh, this feels good to me. Nobody has to
It
tell you,
does.
nobody has to do
Yeah.
anything fancy for it to just feel good, because there's something in you that your African way of knowing, shout out to Dr. Carr, that is clicking in. And now of course, there's some little parts that are going to take a little bit more force than others, but that's your job. Like that's a part of your work to make sure that you are consciously trying to click back in to the ways in which
Ashe.
things go here, the things that serve us. Because there's some things
Ashe.
here that are products of colonialism, and we don't really want to click into that. But there's some
Mm-mm.
things that just are for us as a people, no matter where you find us, and we have to be intentional about finding those grooves. And so that collective thinking, that moving as a unit, that considering people, because people consider other people here. Those are things
Yes.
that we should definitely intentionally practice. Um,
Yes.
and so so being that we're both coming from outside, moving back into the African space, we have our experiences on that side, a lot of adversity sometimes. So how can we take those experiences and turn those into a triumphant experience, in our new homes, or I guess, yeah, we can say new homes, in our new homes here on the African continent, specifically in Ghana, since that's where we both are at this time.
Mhm. So some of the triumphs, I always say we would not have had a civil rights movement if it wasn't for anger and frustration. I think
Mm,
that all great movements are sparked by awareness of like our emotion, and anger
mm,
is an emotion that we generally like to repress Nobody likes to
Mm,
admit that things. But when I was in America, there was a lot of things that was happening, and I started to get very angry about it. And that's really,
mhm,
I had to fuel that energy, because being angry and feeling oppressed and feeling like you can't do anything is not a nice thing. You feel like a slave, right? So I had
mhm,
to. That's why the visualizing was important, because the things that were happening that were adversities in America were like my friend got murdered in front of her house
mm.
just standing outside, or my daughter had an active shooter in her high school and was
Wow.
texting us, "I'm going to die. I love you guys. I'm sorry." Um like my husband tried to go to my daughter's school to volunteer, and they wouldn't let him in because he had on a turban. Like we were really facing some serious like racial and like like some traumatic things
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I was just like, we were at the place where we were like, it's a trade-off. I'm okay with having cold water and not speaking the language up front yet, and like so we had to fuel that energy and transform it and really take it and make it into something that empowered us to move.
mhm,
But there are other things that help you to evolve when you get over here, that you can bring from your experiences in America. Like we have work ethics that are strong work ethics in America, right? And when you come to
mhm.
Ghana, being creative with those things, because you can start anything here in Ghana. What I've seen is like people, anything can happen. It's like there are endless possibilities
Yeah.
in this space. And when you bring some of the things that you've learned, and another thing that I noticed is that in America, because of the systematic, I mean, when we're there, it feels like, okay, it's capitalistic and there's hierarchy in corporate America, but those systems, those systems are needed in the places like this. And if we bring the
Yeah.
gifts, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see the systems in Ghana. Everybody
So
is just kind
the
of,
systems are the systems are here, but here's the but. This is where we go left. Um, the systems are convoluted in a way where they're intentionally not working. My dad always says that when people cause too much confusion, it's because they stealing and or they're doing something that's benefiting them, but not the actual mission. And so that's really what happens to our systems here. What I've experienced in the years that I've been here, there will be a clear protocol, clear as day. People will actively not do that protocol because they
they
have
don't.
another mission that they're trying to accomplish, and it's not what's in the protocol. So I think the systems that the checks and balances that we have in the
Mhm.
states, the
They
the
don't have it.
monitoring, the
Mm,
accountability measures, those are the things that we need to actively kind of work out in this space. Um,
yes.
those things I think we could really, really, really benefit from. But
Mhm.
just working in Ghana, and I know my experience is a little different because a lot of people come and they set up their own businesses here. But I've done a lot of work in the systems, especially in the
Mm.
education space, and so I've seen the inner workings of how some of the ministries work, how work relations are, work ethic, all of those type of things. And so it's really people have other agendas. So even if the system as it's written should work,
It's not happening.
you know, that
Well, so
doesn't meet
that
their mission.
that part,
Yes.
as they say, right? Yeah,
Yep.
no,
Yep.
definitely. I have my own business here, and that's the other thing I was gonna
Mhm.
say. If you have something that you can do online, while you're here to generate a source of income or some kind of residual income, make sure you create
Yeah.
that. Make sure you create that for
Yes.
yourself. If you're not coming here to get a job, you definitely,
Which is
because
hard to do. So I do want
mm,
to mention that to people. It is hard to get a job here because there's so
it
many
is.
people here who don't have a job. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So unless you kind of are coming, a company is hiring you to come in, it is difficult,
Mm-hmm.
just being honest, to find work here. Now, my experience, it wasn't difficult, but I always put this into the conversation that my journey is not everybody's journey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, again, I'm a person who works with acts of faith. So I always tell people, that's not how my life's set up. So struggling to find work, that's not how my life is set up. My life is
Mhm.
set in a certain way. So I will always have something come through. And that's just how it is. Now, because I believe that, because I know that to be true, that's what happens for me all the time. Now, some other people, they may not live in that space. So I do put that out there that it might be a little bit difficult. But for me, it wasn't difficult. Someone always introduced me to someone who will introduce me to
What a
someone, and they're
blessing.
like, oh, what you offer? Yes, yes, I need that. So then I'm able to go and, provide what I offer. So
I'm with
I
you on
do
that.
say that if you have, I was like, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm with you. I'm with you on that meditation.
Yeah. So tell people that's not how my life is set up. My surname is Abraham. So I always say, I have the favor of Abraham. And my family says that. It's a funny thing. My cousin started that saying, she was like, no, we're favorite people. We're Abrahams. It's the favor of Abraham. So don't worry. And she's one of those people where things always just happen for her. Like
Yeah.
literally things just always happen for her. Like opportunity people will literally I've seen people come and just stop at her house with furniture, a whole living room set. Oh, I just was thinking about you and I wanted to come and give this to you. What? People have given her cars. I mean, all types of things. And I'm just like, but
It's the
she
mindset.
always says
She
that.
believes that. Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
always says it, and I have picked it up. And since then, well, even before then, I've always said I was a lucky person, but now I have terminology for it. I'm not lucky. I'm a very blessed person. I'm very favored,
I
and I
say.
believe it, and I know it, and so I walk
Yep.
in that,
Yeah.
and that's
So
just how it is.
it's so funny the synchronicities in this conversation because my birthday is 11/7/77. I
Mm,
was all my life I was called the lucky girl. Like my father
mhm.
in particular and like his family. They would I remember being a little girl when everybody was gonna like go get their lotto, they would have me like touch their lotto tickets for
Listen, my
they
aunt
would
in New York, I used to give her her numbers. I would
they
dream
would
them.
always
I would
yep,
give her her numbers. She would
me
hit, so
too.
she would
Yeah.
always tell me,
That's me. That's me. My dad would
yes.
and my dad would play my birthday and he would win every he she moved the numbers around and he would always win $3,000 here, $5,000 there, $2,000, and so he always wanted me to like be a part of. I would go with him to the racetrack as a little girl. He
Mhm.
would tell me to pick the horses. I was always he just always called me a lucky girl. I always had this thing in my mind that, but like you said, I have the language now and I understand that sometimes some people call it an anointing, some people call
Mhm.
it favor, some people call it grace. You know what I mean? But I understand that the way my life is set up, I generally, what I ask for is what I experience. So I'm very
Yeah.
careful about what I ask for because I know it's going to manifest. So I'm
But
very
it takes
careful.
time to get there. For
Oh,
me, it took between, I would say, when my awareness kicked in a little bit more. So I would say between 18 and maybe like 24, I couldn't see it. Like as
oh
a child, I
no.
wasn't thinking about these things. I just knew
Mm-mm.
that I was the person that would always find money on the ground. Something will, just something good would always happen, right?
Mhm.
But when you're a little bit more aware, like once I went to university, I kind of lost what that looked like. I just wasn't clear. But then, when was that? I think I was like 24. Yes, I did my rights program. And so, which I encourage all women and men, if you can, there's levels of initiation for yourself. When you hit certain markers, you need to sit with some older people at some point and
Yes,
get
you
some
do.
guidance. And so I did that. I just did a second round in August with Iyanla Van Zant, which was a whole nother, like,
Oh, it was good. Oh
a
my
whole
gosh.
life changing experience. But that was another
Mhm.
act of faith. I just spent the money. Like as soon as I realized, oh, okay, she's coming. It's going to be in North Carolina, this and that. I just said, okay, let me pay for it. I'm not going to think about
Wow.
it. I didn't have a flight or nothing back home yet. I said, let me just pay for it. And then the money for the flight, I'll figure that out. you know? And it just,
Wow.
yeah. But it was during that time when someone sat me down and was like, no, you have to go back and look at your life. When have you ever
Yes.
not? When
Yes,
has
I had
it
to.
not worked out? When has it ever?
Yeah.
You, it's not your
But
story.
you know what
Then,
happens in Zali?
oh, sorry. Go ahead. Mhm.
I wanted to say something to that. Some people they're so stuck in like relationships that are harmful that they're only
Mm,
experiencing what's not working. And that so
mm,
we the thing that we pay attention to grows.
mhm.
So if the thing that you're constantly focusing on is the bad things, guess what? That's what you're going to
Yeah.
always experience. Now, when you start that work that you just said, sit with some old people and have them remind you of when have you been without? That is a
Mhm.
gratitude experience that generates
Yeah.
more gratitude.
Yep.
And so that's so important. I just wanted to like highlight that.
And I encourage everybody to take some time and do it. Just think about it. The mere fact that we're here, you are alive, that means you made it through something, at least if it was only the day before. You made it through something. So that
Yep.
means the next day that you're in currently, you can make it through that one and the next one and the next one and the next one. So our people who are coming, I think looking at our experiences from the states that work ethic is important. I also encourage people to tap into the resilience of your ancestry from that side, because
Mhm.
that's, sometimes a lot of us we get excited about having the African, from the continent experience, but also forgetting our lineage on that side. My
Yeah.
people are resilient people,
Yes.
period. The ones I
Yes.
can name, you'll see them here. The ones I
Yes.
can't name, they still are very resilient people. My existence means that they are able to survive. So
Yes.
now I don't have to worry about surviving. They did that already, right?
Yes.
Now my next step is to thrive. So how can I do that? And that's what I want to focus my energy on. So
Mhm.
tapping into that, that energy of resilience, that perseverance of, being creative.
Mhm.
I happen to think Africans everywhere are super creative people. We will make
Very
something with
out
nothing,
of nothing.
you know. And so tap into that, get creative about how you can add some streams of income to help you get to that money goal that you have, or, help you book that flight for your scouting trip. Because
Yes.
I do encourage people to go to the country you want to move to at least once,
Yes. Yes.
right? So you
I
can,
agree.
see what it's like. But tap into that, focus your energy on that, and then see how things unfold once you've done that.
Yes. No, I agree. I had been coming. My husband came 1998, like I mentioned, but I had been coming back and forth since 2017.
Mm.
2017. It took a long
That's a
time
while.
from that's why I'm saying like that first step that I mentioned about making just decide, have a made up mind. It took me how many years to have a made up mind? It took me a long
Mhm.
time. It took me a long time. So going back and forth and really getting yourself kind of acclimated is really important.
Yeah.
It's really important
And
in
I
everything.
do for my young women who are watching, who, because I know when I came to Ghana, I was 20. When I went to South Africa, I was 27. Yeah.
Mm.
It's like 26 or 27. Yeah. So I've been on this path for a little while now. I'm 35 now. But
Oh wow.
I'm for my young ladies, I'm gonna say move quick, because the reality is we ain't got
I
that much
agree.
invested in the States. Like, let's just be for real. When I
There's
left,
nothing
I
there.
had been working in my career, what, a few years, right? But I didn't have, not like someone like you who has a family there. That was not my situation. I was not married. I was single. I did not have children. If that's your space, move quick. Don't spend too much time diddly daddling, because you could be recreating your life in a whole nother space. And
I
I've
wish.
met a lot of other women who are in my age category and very similar. Once they decided, they just kind of made it happen. And then we're
Yeah.
figuring it out once we're
As we
here.
go along. Yeah.
Yeah. In
I
the
wish
States,
that
you're
I
still
did that.
figuring it out.
Yeah,
You
I
came a little bit
honestly
early.
I struggled so much emotionally that a lot of
Mm,
that my time and energy was spent battling those emotional scars. My
mm,
dad passed when I was 37 and I came for the
mhm,
first time for my 40th birthday. So I am
mm,
now my every birthday since I've been with my husband, every birthday card that he's ever given me has said, "May the next one find us on the Golden Shores." Well,
Wow.
my birthday, which
It's
I
coming
plan
up.
to, I was about to say, I plan to extend an invitation to you. We're having a little session for my birthday because the next one has found us on the Golden Shores.
Oh,
And
yes,
that's
I would love to. That's a
all
celebration.
right. So are you, yeah, I
Yeah.
can't believe it. I'm literally, I have cried. I started crying last Friday because I was in a wedding in
Mm,
Kumasi. When Ghanaians adopt you, they adopt you. You are in.
all
So
the way.
one of my brothers, he's more of a brother to me than and he got married, and I was in the wedding, and
Mm,
I cried through the whole. Like you said, they don't have to do much. It's not
yeah.
packaged it big and elaborately, but that love, I've never felt that love before. I
Yeah.
don't that love that I felt in that experience. I've never experienced that. In a long time, I should say. I won't say never, but it's been a while. So it was emotional. And then now I'm like, my birthday is coming up and I'm on the Golden Shores, right? But I
Yes.
didn't do it. I love your advice. I want to go back to it because I wanted to do it when I was 25. I wanted to do it when I was 35. I wanted to
Mhm,
do it. I was afraid. I was
mhm.
afraid. And, I settled with just hearing about other people's stories because I have an uncle who lived in Ghana for many years. He got
Wow.
malaria here. He was very ill and he came back to New York where my family's from. I grew up and I remember I was just telling my cousin because she called me yesterday, FaceTime, and she was like, "You are supposed to be there." And this uncle was her father. And,
Mm,
she said to me, I said to her, I never forget in 2008, he was coming to Ghana. He called me from the air on the plane before he took off.
wow.
And I said to him, man, Uncle John, I wish I could go. I wish I could go. And you know what he said to me? He said, my beloved, excuses and lies are first cousins.
Mm,
That's what, and he's no longer amongst the living. I'm gonna cry. He
mhm,
passed. But he said to me, excuses and lies are first cousins. And
mm,
I said, what are you trying to do? Call me a liar? And he said, I did not say that, you
mm.
know? And he lived long enough for me to experience me going for the first time. And he was in the hospital. He was ailing. He had become ill. But he said to me, he had enough energy to say, your ancestors are pleased.
Mm,
He said, your
wow.
ancestors are pleased. And I knew in that moment that I was going to move to Africa. I knew that.
Mm,
So it happens when it should in a
yeah.
divine timing. So, but if you can move on it, like the sister said, move on it.
Definitely, definitely. I definitely do believe in the divine timing. I think for me at that point, you know, I was steam forced into transforming and revamping my life. But I do, just because of how I know, I think it's easier if you come when you're younger
Yes.
because there's less tentacles attached to you, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have as many things pulling on you to stay. And that's something that I'm thankful for when I talk to older women or men who have come to Ghana and they kind of explain their story. I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, I didn't really have this and this and this and this to think about. I was very young. I didn't even own my home, right? It's like I'm in an
Yeah.
apartment. So I'm like, if I'm in an apartment in DC, I could definitely be in an apartment in Accra. So let me
Yes.
just do my thing. So
Yes.
yeah, I do just for my young ladies, specifically my young men. If you
Yes.
can come earlier. Take the skills that you do have and then make something work in this space. You know,
I
and
agree.
so for the last piece, um, I want you to give, and this is for my women. I know I have a lot of men who watch this channel. Love y'all. Thank y'all for y'all support. But for the women, I always try to offer something for us because it's important. We have to extend it back, And then there's been a
Mhm.
lot of great women who've given me great advice. I mean, I couldn't have paid them for the things that
Right.
they've given me just through words and affirmation and prayers. But for you, if there's one piece of advice that you could give any woman watching this channel,
Mm.
who's going through her transformational journey, any advice on what she can do to get free and to keep it moving and pushing?
Ooh. Ooh, and Zali. That's a deep one. Advice about move, keep it pushing and healing. Okay, I have a few things that I'm gonna say. Okay. The first one is really simple. Let go. Let go in every sense of the word. Let go, right? Love yourself more. Develop
Mm,
um, a self-care experience for yourself, right? Don't allow anyone, people treat you the way you treat yourself. Don't allow anyone to hurt you, no matter who they are. You don't deserve that. So tap into your worth. Tap into your worth. The minute you see yourself worthy, everything starts conspiring in your favor. Find women who will love you unconditionally. That was a game changer for me. Because of my mother wound, I did not want to trust other women and I was afraid.
mm,
But I walked into my spiritual path, the practice that I live. And in that practice, you have to have a godmother. You have to have a community that you trust. You have to. And it was hard, but I had to become vulnerable enough and believe that they meant good for me and
mhm,
be okay with people's imperfections, and it starts with being okay with your own. Nobody's
mhm.
perfect, neither are you. And so be okay with that, and that'll set you right on the path. That'll set you right
Awesome.
on the path. Yes.
And what I love about what you just shared with the women watching is that all of those things are dealing with you. It really is doesn't have much to do
It ain't got
with
nothing to do
other
with
people.
nobody else.
It all is you.
It's all you. Oh, that was the
That's
most
the
difficult
easiest
discovery.
way.
Yeah.
Work on you. Work on you. Work on you. I do encourage all women, if you can, like you said, find a really good sister circle. It can come in
Mhm.
different shapes and forms,
It can.
but be open for it. Be open to
Yes.
it and see what you can gain from those spaces, what you can learn, and
Mhm.
also what you can give, because everything has to be reciprocal.
It
It's a
does.
circle motion. All righty. So, where can people find you if they want to do some work with you? If they want to learn more about your tours that you set up, if they want to join one of your sessions, how can they find you?
So I have two different platforms because, some way I'm gonna have to fuse them together. But for right now, our Africa work and my transformative healing work are in two different spaces. So we have
Okay.
Akoma Healing Arts, Akoma, and it's flashing across here, akomahealingarts.org. If you're interested in starting your own tour and you don't know where to start and how to do it, we'll tell you everything step by step, because we can't be the only people doing. We came on someone's tour to Africa the first time I came, so it's their tour is happening, and we'll consult. But we also are doing private tours, curating private experiences, healing experiences. I'm a Reiki healer, so Reiki on the continent feels magical, right? So
Mm,
when we do our tours and we do
I
our
want to come
Reiki
see you.
circles.
I don't think I've ever had that here. I haven't
Oh,
had Reiki
wow.
here.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
I'm actually, that's one of the things that I'm actually starting, Reiki circles, private Reiki sessions. So you know, tap in. I'm waiting for my Reiki bed. It's getting shipped. My
Ooh,
massage
nice.
table. Yeah. But if you're interested in traveling with us, we're going to do our next large tour next July. So you're welcome
Mhm.
to tap into akomahealingarts.org. We're also going to Senegal and Gambia in May. So not just Ghana. Um, so you're
Just a
welcome
quick one.
to,
Why
yeah.
Senegal and Gambia?
Always wanted to go there. Gambia is in Senegal, so it's like
Hmm.
two countries. It's a nice 2-for-1 experience.
Hmm.
And Senegal doesn't require a visa.
Mm.
It's like really
So that,
easy to go
yeah.
to Senegal. Like, why not? Just buy your ticket and have your passport. So that's really what sparked it. Gambia does require a visa, but you can do the visa on arrival. Real easy. We
Okay.
just walk up to the thing, pay the money, and get in. Yeah, it was very easy. So the easiness it made it like we just did a tour in March to Senegal and Gambia, and it went so well that we're like, we'll do it again. So
Again, yeah.
yeah, we'll do it again. Why not? We want to touch every country on the continent, you
Hmm.
know.
Senegal is one of those places that is on my list, but for an interesting reason. I took an African films course, and my lecturer had lived in Senegal for years and years
Oh
and years
wow.
before she came back to the States, and she was lecturing at Howard. So the films she would show were always like Senegalese films, like these old African films,
Oh
and so they were always
wow.
in French. Yes, I'm like, I just want to go because I mean she talks so good about it. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
it's
so
nice.
it is one of those places that's like in the
On
back of
your
my mind,
list.
like, yeah, one day I'll make it to Senegal, even if it's just to honor her and say,
Mm.
thank you for dropping little seeds,
Seeds. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then my other platform is My Movements for Change. MY movements with an S for change.com. And that's where we dig in. So if
Hmm.
you identify with a mother wound, if you identify with yearning and craving for healing things that has happened in your childhood that you never really had a chance to resolve, I help with that resolution because you can't get to your purpose until you push through that pain. You got to go through the darkness to get to the light. And that's an ongoing process. But once you learn your process, you learn your process, you know? And
Yeah.
so thank you for sharing
I
that.
like
My
that.
movements. Hmm.
Once you learn your process, you learn your
You learn
process.
your
Oh my
process.
goodness. I have
Yes.
said that in like so many informal ways. Like I couldn't make it that crystal clear, but I
Yes.
do say that a lot. Like I know when my prayers work because I know what it feels like. I know how much time it's going to take for me to get a
Hello.
response. I know what it feels like when I'm right on the money about something.
Hmm.
Like I know where it activates in my body. Like I'm
Oh,
very
I love
aware of
that.
those type of things. And it's because somebody specifically pointed it out and was like, you need to figure out what your symbols are. And I was like, my
Yes.
what? And they're like,
Yes.
yeah, you need to
Now
figure out what your symbols are. And I
that's
was
what
like,
I'm
oh,
talking about. Yes.
okay.
So
But
I
what you
and in the spiritual system that I practice, we don't even have to figure it out. We learn our symbols and we
mm-hmm,
activate them. We
mm,
learn what to connect to activate what we want to experience and make sure that what we want to experience is in alignment. Like I wanted to move long ago, but spiritually it wasn't time.
mm-hmm,
I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't the time, but my spiritual alignment was right now. And so,
mm-hmm,
sometimes what we want, it's not in alignment with our destiny. That's why they say
mm-hmm.
God, man plan and God smiles. God laughs,
Yes.
right? So we want to
Yep.
know our symbols and we want to be in alignment, right?
Yep. Yep.
So mymovementsforchange.com. That's it.
Yes,
Thank
so they
you.
can find you there if they're ready for transformation, ready to dig a little bit deep. If they have an interest in traveling to the African continent on one of your
Come on.
tours or learning how to be a tour guide in some
Yeah.
capacity, then Akoma Healing Arts. Yes,
Yes.
I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I think this conversation was like long overdue.
It's so beautiful. Thank you so
Long
much.
overdue, but it was great talking to you. It's morning
Oh,
for us. For
yes,
people
it
who may
is.
watch this later, whenever you watch it. Again, I want to tell everybody make sure you like the channel, it's free. You can always
All
share
right.
clips from
Hit
the
the button.
videos and subscribe to the channel. Again, I'm Nzali. You can also find me on Instagram. Nzali Takes Africa. Thank you so much, Sister Adwoa, for coming
Oh,
in and
thank
sharing
you.
your expertise with us. And I'm just forever, forever grateful. And
Oh,
I'm
thank
excited that
you.
you're here. I'm excited that you're
I
here permanently.
we about to shake a leg on Sunday, so we'll
Yes,
talk about that.
awesome. All right, thank you so much.
You're
I'm
welcome.
gonna pull you down here. All right, people. So that was Sister Ajwa. Again, I just want to say a very big thank you to her. This was such a great conversation, and I am so excited for you all to drop your comments down. Let me know where you are in your process. Are you at your butt? Are you ready to have you made your decision and you need help with your preparations? Are you still working through some of those emotional issues? Let us know in the comments. Let me know where you are, and then I can extend some of the resources that I have, also connecting you with Sister Adwoa so she can also share some of the resources that she has. Until the next time, everybody, I want to say bye-bye and see y'all later.